When you find a situation where you need some inspiration, there's an open invitation. This could be a revelation. It's true. Well, do.
Okay, everyone. So today we're going to get started with talking about the basics of Google Docs. So if you've taken a class with me before, you've maybe come to see that I use a test folder a lot. Your choice if you want to make a folder titled test or if you want to make a folder titled Google Docs. Either one would work. I'm just scrolling down to my test folder here. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and remember the power of the pause button. That's what I used to tell my students as a flipped classroom teacher, basically meaning, you're going to be doing as I'm doing. So pause as you need to when I point out something I want you to do, rewatch if you have to, only go at your pace. Don't feel like you have to watch this in its entirety from start to finish without ever having to pause and rewind. So just make sure that you're utilizing that as much as possible. So we're going to go up here to New, and we're going to go down to Google Docs. I'm just going to click on Google Docs, remembering that you can click off to the side to create either a blank document or look at the templates. Definitely take a look at the templates if you're creating just a basic Google Doc and you just want to see what they have. But to start with today, we're going to go with just a basic blank document. As we get started, the first thing you maybe want to do is title this Getting to Know Google. Sure. The thing with Google Docs is it's always going to maintain its untitled document status until you go up and click on it. It will grab the first line of text that you have, thinking that that is your title. In this case, we can leave it that way. That's fine. You can change it at any time. And then at this point, I want you to go ahead and highlight what you've typed so far. And we're going to talk about a few different options that you have here. The first thing I would say is that as you highlight, you're going to have some options up here at the top. This one in particular is your paragraph function. So you can go up here to title. We'll obviously change it to a specific size font. It defaults to Arial as your font, so we'll talk about fonts in just a minute. But this particular drop-down menu from title to headings is going to be really helpful a little bit later as we come back to talking about creating hyperlinks within the text as well as the table of contents. It works very similar to Word, so if you're familiar at all with the paragraph settings within Word, definitely check that out. And then we're going to come over here to the Arial drop-down menu. These are all of the different fonts that you have available. I want you to go ahead and click on More Fonts if you haven't done this with me before. Once you go into More Fonts, you have the ability to add to your font library throughout your Google suite of products. Anything that I have highlighted with the in blue with the blue check mark next to it means that it's a part of my library. Up at the top, I have the ability to filter it in some way. So display fonts, these are going to be great if you're using, like Google Slides or a slide deck to display a prompt or something nice and big and easy to read. A lot of people will move into the handwriting category. Just be careful of that. You don't want to fall into a trap of using something that's hard for people to read. And then obviously it's sorted by popularity. You can also just type out a font if you know a font that you currently like and want to see if it's available. This is a rabbit hole. So if you want to go ahead and pause me now and go through and search for some of your favorite looking fonts, feel free to do that. I don't have this one. This one looks nice and readable. I'm going to click it and then I'm going to click OK. And it's going to go ahead and change my font title. Even though it's still registering as a title, here's another tip or trick. You can actually click on this arrow off to the side. And when you say update title to match, that means moving forward, all of your titles will be in that Quicksand font size 26. So, again, you could go in and make this even bigger if you wanted to. You could even change the text color. Maybe you wanted a bright blue. Maybe you wanted a bold font. Going back over to title one more time, clicking on the side arrow, say update title to match. Now all of your titles will be a bold font, color blue, size 30 in the font Quicksand. That works obviously for all of the other paragraph options as well. So don't forget that. That's a nice handy little trick, especially if you're formatting a document. Okay. Other options you have within font, obviously you can center align. One thing I would say though is as you're starting to add images, Google Docs doesn't work as well, I don't think, as Word in that capacity. So if you are going to really want to place a whole bunch of different images and be particular about how they line up with the rest of your text, I really would recommend that you maybe do that in Google Slides or stick in Google or in Microsoft Word, or even use Pages, the native program from Apple. Google Docs just has a couple of options in terms of popping in images, and they don't really move around very well within the document. So just keep that in mind. You do have options to change your line spacing, create your numbered list, your bulleted list, increasing your indent, and then you also have the option to create columns. So I'll just briefly talk about column options, but I typically actually will use the table function if I want to go into the realm of making columns or separating my text in that way.
Okay, so that is going to be the end of this small section. I've tried to chop it up a little bit for you guys. Hopefully that works for you.
Oh, oh, oh.